What's up, mystery hunters? Today we're diving into one of the most puzzling, out-of-place artifacts ever discovered in America. A story that begins in a basement in West Virginia and ends with questions that challenge everything we know about human history. We're talking about the Newton-Anderson chain, a metal link discovered inside a lump of coal that's supposedly millions of years old. Picture this. It's 1944, and Newton-Anderson is doing something completely ordinary, shoveling coal in his basement in Buckhannon, West Virginia. He's feeding his furnace when he breaks open a particularly large lump of coal, and something extraordinary falls out. A single link of what appears to be a hand-forged iron chain, completely enclosed within the coal, with no signs of having been inserted after the coal's formation. Now, before we dive deeper, let me explain why this discovery should be absolutely impossible according to mainstream geology. The coal from this region dates to the Carboniferous period, approximately 300 million years ago. We're talking about an era when the most advanced life forms on Earth were primitive amphibians and early reptiles. There were no humans, no civilization, and certainly no one capable of metallurgy or chain making. Yet here was this chain link, clearly manufactured, showing signs of deliberate craftsmanship, and exhibiting the kind of wear patterns you'd expect from actual use. The link measured about 8 inches in circumference and appeared to be made of iron or steel. What made it even more mysterious was that it wasn't just sitting in the coal. It was completely embedded within it, as if it had been there when the coal was originally formed. Anderson was amazed by his discovery. He recognized immediately that this wasn't something that could have accidentally fallen into his coal bin. This chain link had been inside that lump of coal for what appeared to be an incredibly long time. He carefully preserved the artifact and began showing it to friends and neighbors, none of whom could offer any conventional explanation. The story of Anderson's discovery eventually made its way into local newspapers and then into the broader world of anomalous archaeology. Researchers who study out-of-place artifacts seized on the chain link as potential evidence that our understanding of human history might be fundamentally flawed. Think about the implications if this chain link is authentic. It would mean that beings capable of sophisticated metallurgy were present in what is now West Virginia 300 million years ago. That's not just before recorded history. That's before complex life was supposed to exist on land. We're talking about a time when the continents looked completely different, and the climate was unlike anything humans have ever experienced. The chain link also raises questions about the nature of coal formation itself. Coal deposits form over millions of years as organic matter is compressed and heated under enormous pressure. For a metal object to be found completely embedded in coal, it would have had to be present during this incredibly slow geological process. But here's where the story gets complicated, because unlike some out-of-place artifacts, we have very limited information about the Newton-Anderson chain. Anderson himself was not a scientist or researcher. He was simply a homeowner who made an unusual discovery. The documentation of the find is relatively sparse compared to other similar claims. We don't have detailed photographs showing the chain link's exact position within the coal. We don't have chemical analysis of the metal composition. We don't have geological verification of the coal's age or the specific mine it came from. Most importantly, we don't have independent verification from multiple witnesses of the discovery itself. This lack of rigorous documentation is actually quite common with out-of-place artifact claims. Many of these discoveries are made by ordinary people in ordinary circumstances, and by the time researchers become involved, crucial evidence has often been lost or contaminated. The Anderson chain also raises questions about alternative explanations that might account for the discovery without requiring us to completely rewrite human history. Could the chain link have somehow worked its way into the coal through natural processes? Could there have been contamination during mining or transportation? Could the coal itself be much younger than initially assumed? One possibility that researchers have considered is that coal seams can sometimes be disturbed by geological activity, creating spaces where more recent materials might become embedded. Another possibility is that the chain link might have been present during relatively recent mining operations and somehow became incorporated into the coal through handling or storage processes. There's also the question of the chain link's apparent age and condition. If it had truly been embedded in coal for 300 million years, we might expect it to show certain characteristics, specific types of corrosion, mineral deposits, or other signs of extreme age. Without detailed analysis, it's difficult to determine whether the Anderson chain shows these expected features. The story also highlights the challenges inherent in evaluating extraordinary claims based on limited evidence. When someone makes a discovery that seems to contradict established scientific understanding, how do we determine what really happened? How much evidence is required before we seriously consider overturning decades of research and knowledge? These questions become even more complex when we consider that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. The idea that sophisticated metallurgy existed 300 million years ago is so far outside our current understanding of history and evolution that it would require exceptionally strong proof to be accepted by the scientific community. The Newton-Anderson chain represents a broader category of mysterious discoveries that challenge our assumptions about the past. Similar objects have reportedly been found in coal deposits around the world. Nails, screws, jewelry, and other manufactured items that seem impossibly old given their geological context. But it's worth noting that despite decades of such claims, none have yet provided the kind of rigorous, independently verified evidence that would convince mainstream science to reconsider the timeline of human development. This doesn't mean all such claims are false, but it does suggest that we need to be careful about drawing sweeping conclusions from isolated, poorly documented discoveries. The Anderson chain story also raises important questions about how we preserve and study unusual finds. If Anderson had immediately contacted geological experts, if the coal and chain link had been carefully analyzed, if multiple witnesses had documented the discovery, we might have a much clearer picture of what really happened in that West Virginia basement in 1944. Instead, we're left with an intriguing story that raises more questions than it answers. Was Newton-Anderson's chain link really embedded in 300-million-year-old coal? If so, what does that tell us about the history of intelligence on Earth? Or is there a more conventional explanation that accounts for the discovery without requiring us to completely reimagine the past? The truth is, we may never know for certain. The Newton-Anderson chain, like many out-of-place artifacts, exists in that frustrating space between mystery and knowledge, where the evidence is tantalizing but incomplete. What we can learn from stories like this is the importance of careful documentation, scientific analysis, and keeping an open mind while maintaining healthy skepticism. The next time someone makes an extraordinary discovery, we should ask the right questions, preserve the evidence properly, and apply rigorous scientific methods to understand what really happened. The Newton-Anderson chain reminds us that our world is full of mysteries. But solving those mysteries requires more than just intriguing stories. It requires evidence, analysis, and the willingness to follow the facts wherever they lead. What do you think about the Newton-Anderson chain? Could it really be evidence of ancient advanced civilization? Or is there a more mundane explanation for this unusual discovery? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this exploration of one of America's most mysterious artifacts, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the unexplained discoveries that challenge our understanding of history. Remember, the most important tool for understanding our past isn't blind belief or automatic skepticism. It's careful investigation and critical thinking.